take opportunities that are in front of you and do the best you can. Do the best job you can, no matter what it is. You can't go in any company and be really successful. You have to make sure you take what your natural talents, your personality, and find a company where that's going to be valued. And if you can do that, it's a lot of fun. It's still a lot of hard work, but if you can be yourself and still be successful, it's the best way to have a career.
So how do you find your clients?
99+% word of mouth and relationships.
Hello everyone, thank you so much for being with us today. Today we have a special guest with Dan. Dan, hello, thank you so much for coming with us and sharing your amazing experience. So before we start with the interview and asking you about your incredible journey, I'm just gonna explain a little bit your background and why you are with us today.
Thanks, Julie.
So Dan is a former vice president of the Magic Kingdom Walt Disney World in Florida. So from Florida, when you started as a parking attendant, to Disneyland Paris, where you lived in France for 5 years.
That's right.
Good on you.
Yeah.
And then where you had different executive roles.
Yes.
And then relocated back to Florida, where you did all the way up until the position of vice president.
That's right. 19 different jobs over 26 years. So always moving, always learning something new.
Amazing. Yeah. Wow. That's what we're going to talk about today. And after a fulfilling and exciting 26 years of career at Disneyland Paris,
yeah.
Well, you decided to, with your wife, Valerie,
yeah.
who is with us also today, to make the decision to open your own consulting company.
That's right.
That's about it.
Yeah, we, Valerie and I, we have 3 kids, and the youngest was about to go off to college, and we decided we wanted to do something brand new and try a new adventure. So I left Disney in May of 2018, and we started our own consulting company. And now we share our experiences working together, 41 years total at Disney, about leadership, customer service, culture, and we are learning more than we did, I think, over the past 10 years, traveling to many different countries, meeting people from all over the world. I met you at the university at the graduation, and here we are today. So you never know who you're going to meet, and that's what makes this so much fun now.
Yeah, that's true. It's unbelievable. So to explain you a bit how, before we start, did I meet Dan, is because, well, I went to Torrance University for one of the graduation of my students. And you started with a speech, incredible and inspiring speech.
Thank you.
And yes, when I saw you on the stage, I was like, oh my God, I need to talk to this man. So I saw you going down of the stage and I ran after you and put my business cards and here we are. So thank you so much for accepting to share your amazing story with us, with our community.
I want to make a point about that because what Julie did at that graduation was exactly what I like to talk about is you create your own opportunities. You create your own luck. You create what your future is going to look like. Because you could have said, well, I don't want to get up and run over. Maybe he's leaving. Maybe he won't talk to me. I don't know. But you did. And that's I think that's how most opportunities Valerie and I have gotten in our company is we're always willing to talk to people, take an interest in them, have conversations. And so I think you have to treat throughout your whole life, you have to reach out and take opportunities when they're in front of you. And don't be shy.
Unbelievable. Thanks for that. Good tips. So listen and stand up for any opportunities coming to you.
That's right.
Fantastic. So we're going to a bit, I think, divide that because you were an entrepreneur. So you were more into working for Disney management positions, executives roles. So let's start a bit with this experience and then we'll talk more about, because you became a business owner as well, decided to change a bit your lifestyle and we'll pass through this important part of your life. So the first question, and I think when people, they will listen to us, especially young, because we are specialized in education, so we are here to try to inspire. So you inspire business owners and management and executive and CEOs, but here what we do, we're trying to inspire young people that want to launch their career. So how did you start from a parking attendant to former vice president of Walt Disney World?
Yeah, well, it doesn't happen quickly, obviously. It took 24 years to get to that position, and that was really never my goal. I've discovered in my life that take opportunities that are in front of you and do the best you can, do the best job you can, no matter what it is. So when I was 13 years old, I was mowing lawns, and I'd earn money that way. Every summer I was working, and my parents I was always working. So I was used to working. I think working when you're younger gives you confidence. It teaches you about self-discipline. It teaches you about organization, responsibility. I think there's so many positive things that you get out of working at a young age. So when I graduated from college, I still didn't know what I wanted to do with my life. I was a political science major, so I didn't want to use that education to do anything. So I decided to go to Disney and get a job. And that was the first job was, as you said, parking cars. And a lot of people would say, well, why are you going to go do that kind of job? You have a college degree. You should go do something more interesting or more important. But my personal opinion is you got to get experience, and you have to go and learn things. And so I got that job, and that job I did a really good job. That led me to be able to go to France to work in the parking lot there and open the park. And eventually that led to me being able to go to another position in ticketing and do that for a year. So every year or two, I was always looking, okay, I've learned a lot in this job. What's the next job I can go to? And I wasn't worried about getting promotions. I just wanted to get more experience, just keep gathering experience, because I knew that if I could get more experiences, I'd be more confident, I'd be more flexible, I'd be more valuable to whoever wanted to hire me. And so I just kept adding those together. So I think, moving up in an organization like I did, a lot of it's hard work. A lot of it is luck and timing. I happened to be graduating from college when Disneyland Paris was opening. I was very lucky that was happening at that time.
How old were you when you arrived?
22.
22.
22 years old, yeah.
So, do you speak French?
Yes, and when you live in another country for 5 years, you learn the language, and that was hard. That was very hard to do when you're 22 years old, is learn a new language. But as long as you're, like I said, you're willing to say yes, you're willing to take on the adventure part of it. It gets frustrating sometimes. It's not easy, but once you learn it, then you say, okay, what can I learn next? And I think that's what life is about. It's not trying to get how quickly can I move up and how much more money can I make. I think it's when you're young, get as many diverse experiences as you can, and that's going to create more options, more choices later in your career.
Amazing. Yeah. So you always have eagerness to always learn and achieve something.
Yeah, always trying something new. People ask me, why do you keep changing jobs? Why don't you decide what you want to do? I said, well, I'm not sure what I want to do, but I love leading teams. And I don't think it was a coincidence that I did well at Disney, because Disney values people who like to work on teams. They value employees who like to give customer service. They like people who have a lot of energy and are problem solvers, and that's what I did. So you can't go in any company and be really successful. You have to make sure you take what your natural talents, your personality, and find a company where that's going to be valued. And if you can do that, it's a lot of fun. It's still a lot of hard work, but if you can be yourself and still be successful, it's the best way to have a career.
It's amazing, but it's never easy anyway.
No,
so whatever you do professionally, you go in another country. We live the same here, because I'm from France and I arrived here. I was actually 21, didn't speak English as well, and then student, and then started working marketing and opened my business. And it's never easy, but you have to go for it at the end of the day. So
you can't be afraid of hard work, and you can't be afraid of failure. I mean, there's so many times in my career I thought I should be promoted, and they said, you know what, you're not ready. And I was very disappointed, and I just kept working hard. So things don't always go your way. There's ups and there's downs, and life is about getting through it. And every time you get knocked down, you get back up and you keep moving forward. And all the things, even the negative experiences, are positive long term, because it makes you learn about being humble. It makes you learn about maybe not making a different decision next time. And so I think it's a fun way to live.
Amazing. Actually, talking about failure, that was one of my questions, because you have done so many various executive roles. What is your biggest failure?
Yeah. I have a bunch of different ones. I don't think I have one big one, but there were times in my career when I'd make a decision and I wouldn't listen to anybody. I wouldn't ask questions. I just thought, you know what? I have a big job. I'm really important. I'm not going to ask anyone. I'm just going to make the decision because I can. And I had times when I made some big mistakes because I didn't understand the issue all the way. And if I'd taken the time just to talk to some of my employees, some of my managers, some of the finance people around me and ask their opinion, I probably wouldn't have made those decisions. But sometimes your ego gets in the way and you want to just feel important. And I'd make decisions and not use the team around me to help guide me. And that's happened, a handful of times. And usually when I did that, I wouldn't think of something and something would go wrong. So I think the big thing I've learned over time is rely on others. Don't get so don't let your ego get so big you think you know everything. You can't know everything. So you have to have people around you help guide you when you're making decisions.
Amazing. Wow, that was my following question actually. How do you make sure that you make good decisions?
Yeah.
So you will say involving others.
Yeah, I think involving others is really important because everyone around you has a different experience. They have a different background. They have a different education. And no matter how smart you are, you can't have all the experiences everyone around you has had. So when you're making a decision, talking with the group you're always going to come to a better decision, or they're going to all agree and no one's going to see a problem. So it's like an insurance policy. It's going to check your thinking. Something else I like to do is using frameworks. We call them frameworks. It's kind of like a methodology when you're making decisions. Ask yourself certain questions. So at Disney, there's a few ways we did this. One was when we made a decision, we'd always ask ourselves, if we make this decision, how's it going to impact the employee? How's it going to impact the guest? And how's it going to impact the financial results? And if you could address those three and make sure you could understand how your decision would impact each of those, sometimes it was really positive for one and really negative for another. We're going to raise the price on a ticket. Okay, that's going to be great for the financials. That may be good for the employees because we can invest more money, but it's not going to be good for the guests because they don't want to pay more money. But you're always making these trade-offs. So I think if you can have over time, create a checklist of things when you make decisions and make sure you're looking at all the people who are impacted by that decision, you'll make a better decision. It doesn't mean you're not going to make a mistake, but you're going to make a better informed decision than you would have otherwise.
Actually, that's funny we talk about that because it's happened to me this year with the company, because obviously my industry, international education, with the pandemic, we have been very hit, and that was a recovery year, and I had an important problem that I had to solve, and I was thinking and putting so much pressure on myself, like, I need to show my team, I need to show that I come up with the solutions,
Right.
And I was panicking, and because you put so much expectation on yourself as well, then you start to realize, I cannot solve this problem, and you have a self-confidence that go very low.
Yeah.
And I just, in the staff meeting, I was like, okay, let's ask the opinions on others. Yeah. And I felt just much more confident. Like I was less scared to make a mistake because it's open all, your mind. And so
I think leaders, but just because they're in a leadership role, they think they have to have all the right answers. I'm not sure why that is, but they want to prove themselves. The reality is when you're leading a group, you're just facilitating the conversation. And if you can tap into everybody, and people love giving their opinion also. People want to be involved in making decisions. But at the end of the day, you're still responsible. You own the company. Sure. So whether you make a good decision or bad decision, it's still going to be on you. But asking others for their help, I think, is a fantastic way just to guide yourself through life, personally and professionally. Ask your friends before you make decisions about things, and they'll probably think of things you didn't consider.
Anyway, good or bad decisions, we always learn.
Yeah, you always learn.
Sometimes making mistakes, we even learn.
Some of the best learnings, usually the best learnings are the mistakes. And sometimes mistakes you can't, I found at Disney, typically when I had to make a difficult decision, I only had about 40% of the information. So no matter what I did, I wasn't going to have all the information. So I had to make the best decision I could with the information I had. And a lot of people get stuck. They get paralyzed. They make no decision. And time goes on, they don't make a decision, and it gets worse. So I think I'm a big fan of make a decision, go with it. If it's wrong, you can change it, but ignoring it and not letting things go on without making a decision is one of the worst things you can do.
Yeah, definitely. Wow. Happy you don't have too much decision to make, because I can imagine with how many employees did you manage? 75?
12,000 at the Magic Kingdom.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, 12,000 employees. So when you have that many employees, you really need to figure out who you trust, who are the managers that you're going to talk to. And I talked to lots and lots of people. I wouldn't just talk to my direct reports. I talked to frontline employees, frontline managers. I would talk to guests, just continuing to educate myself. So when I got in those really important meetings, I had a really good view of the landscape. I could make a better call.
Wow. So what was your challenge, the biggest challenge of managing such a big number of employees like this?
Yeah, it's. I think when you're managing that kind of volume, the problem is even little mistakes can be a big deal, because So here's a number I use. I say, there's a great roller coaster called Big Thunder Mountain at Magic Kingdom in Florida. So if every year you load and unload and have guests ride that at 99.9% perfection, if you get 99.9% right, you'll have 670 people get injured. And obviously, one person getting injured is too many. 670 is, you can't even imagine that. Oh, so when I was in college, I never got 99% on a test, but if I did, I would be really happy. It's great in school, but once you get to the real world, 99% isn't even close to being good enough. So that's where you just have to deliver perfection all the time. And you can't control all that, because every employee is out there working. They're making decisions when to hit the button and how to talk to guests. And so you need to make sure you hire the right people, you train them really well, make sure you give them real clear expectations of how to do their job, and then you reinforce the recognition, you give them feedback all the time, because people need to know how to make improvements along the way. So the pressure of that, knowing that you had 20 million guests coming to the park and 12,000 employees, you were just hoping that every employee did everything they needed to do, wash their hands. If you don't wash your hands, you could give guests, foodborne illnesses. Or if you didn't pay attention to the attraction, someone could get injured. So you need to get people to care, and you need to give them the confidence to do their jobs. And that was probably the hardest thing, is sometimes stepping back and just let everyone do their jobs.
Wow. But it's hard. It's important to trust, but it's also hard sometimes to make sure that, they deliver the quality and respect the expectations that you have as well.
Yeah.
So
we have a term we call you trust and verify. So we're going to trust you to do the job, but we're going to put tools in place to measure, to make sure that we're testing you all the time, that you're doing the job the right way, whether that's lifeguarding or cooking or dancing, whatever job you're in, we're going to make sure you're doing it right. And if you do it right, we're going to congratulate you and recognize you. And if you're not doing it right, we're going to give you retraining and coaching to get better again. So you trust people, but you still verify that they're doing the right thing.
If they do something wrong, do you sometimes ask them, what can we do for you to make sure that you don't do it again? And ask them,
Yeah, every situation is different, but usually what I would ask somebody is, if they did something wrong, okay, if you had to do that again, what would you do differently? And if they told me nothing, I'd say, okay, we got a problem, because a mistake was made and you don't see any opportunity to have changed what you did. So we're not learning here. But if a person said, you know what, if I had to go through this again, I absolutely would have waited another minute before I made the decision, or I would have called somebody to get their opinion. I think that would have been better. If they can tell me that, then I'm like, all right, great. You learned something for the future, and now I know you're going to get better, and we're going to move on from here. Now, if that person made a mistake every day and kept making the same mistake or kept doing the same thing, eventually they have to leave. You can't keep someone who's not delivering. But people make mistakes all the time, and as long as I knew that they learned something from it and they could tell me what that was, I was fine.
That's a good leader.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah.
So in your opinion, what is the most important personality trait or strength that someone will need to work in your industry or to be successful like you are in your roles?
Gosh. So something we talk about all the time is this concept of attitude, having a great attitude. And how we define attitude is it's someone who solves problems. It's someone we say is a can-do person. When you only have 2 servers in the restaurant and a bunch of guests show up, those 2 servers are going to figure out a way with the manager to take care of it. If the power goes out, we're going to figure out a way to take care of our guests. People have a great attitude. They're always looking for solutions. They have a very positive, optimistic view in life, and they figure it out. And I think it doesn't matter what industry you're in. If you have that attitude to life, even when bad things happen to you, you're going to figure out how to get the best out of it. You're going to, as we say in English, find the silver lining, right? You're going to find the learning that comes out of it. And so a lot of this is it's having a mindset that you're going to take challenges as positive things, and you're going to take challenges as something that you're going to learn from. You're going to take challenges as opportunities maybe to fail, but to learn for next time and get better. And I think if you can go through life with that attitude, you'll be hired by great companies, by great leaders. You'll be successful because people are looking for people who want to solve problems and are going to go out and figure things out.
And try to go beyond.
Yeah.
And just try to reach the excellence and do these little things more than you are asked for.
Yeah, always doing a little more.
Yeah, fantastic. What is the best compliment you ever received?
Oh, gosh.
None?
Yeah. No, I've gotten compliments. I think something that was important to me, I wanted my reputation to be, when I was working in my career, was being accessible and approachable. I wanted people to feel comfortable to talk to me. I wanted to make sure people knew how important they were in our operation. So I was in the park all the time. I'd have lunch with employees. I'd have events. I didn't judge people based on their level of the organization. I treated everyone the same. And people, after I left Disney, people tell me, you really knew who we were. You knew our names. You listened to us. And that was probably that was my goal all the way. And so when I heard that, that was like the best thing I could ever hear is I paid attention to people.
Amazing. That's it. I did my job. I left my name there.
Yeah.
A good reputation is
Yeah.
very important. Yeah. So talking about leaving Disney, because that was a big part of your career, but then what happened that you decided to leave? Because that was a comfortable job. I believe you were like as a senior executive level. So why sudden change? Why you decided to leave?
Well, having 19 jobs over 26 years, it was always interesting. There was always something new. And I think as our kids got older, when Valerie and I started to talk about what was next, she really challenged me. And she said, are we going to sit here in Orlando for another 5 or 10 years till you retire? Or are we going to go on an adventure and see the world? And that's the one thing about working in a place like Disney and a theme park. You don't travel very much. You're there all the time. That's where you're working. And Valerie and I are we want to see the whole world. We know how much there is to see and how many people there are to meet. And so it was, I call it a calculated risk, because our kids were older, so they were going to be leaving anyway. We weren't going to disrupt their lives. We had saved up enough money to know that we had a safety plan if we didn't make any money. And it was a time just to go take a big leap and a big chance. It was terrifying. I really was scared. I said, I don't know if I can do this. I don't know if anyone's going to be interested in what I have to say, because I've only done it at Disney. And Valerie's point of view was, well, look, if this doesn't work out, you can always go get a job. I said, wow, you're cool about this. So if you're cool, I'm cool. So I left. We sold our house. We moved to Colorado. We got rid of probably 60% of our things, gave them away, sold them. And now we rent a little apartment in Colorado, and we're traveling as much as we can. And eventually we'll settle down again. We'll buy a house somewhere and figure out where we want to be, probably in France. But for right now, it's about just kind of a new life, a whole new approach. And we're learning to be entrepreneurs now. I didn't learn how to be an entrepreneur at Disney. I learned how to run a business. There's a lot I learned, but I didn't learn how to be an entrepreneur. So we're getting to learn that now, at over 50 years old now, and we feel like we're just starting out again.
Amazing. So what exactly your business? What are your services that you offer to
Yeah, so
business?
I do keynote speeches. Valor and I do workshops for companies on how to offer great customer service, how to manage and create cultures that employees will stick around and will want to go back to. We do some consulting on how to improve businesses. I have a podcast. I talk about leadership and management. So we do, like I said, we spent 2 months in Brazil this year, over 3 trips,
wow.
teaching about the Disney approach. The workshop we do is called The Method to the Magic. So it's a bit of a nod towards Disney, but we explain to people there is no magic. It's a methodology. It's hard work. It's organizational skills. It's having discipline. It's listening. It's having a plan. And so we teach that to accounting firms, hospitals, shipping companies, retail shops, hotels. There's a lot of industries that have nothing to do with theme parks, but the approach is the exact same. And so we just take what we've learned and we tell companies, we're not telling you to adopt what Disney does, but we're telling you certainly could adapt the ideas to your business. And people seem to really enjoy it. And we enjoy it, and we're very authentic. We lead from a place of authenticity because we've done all these jobs. We don't just talk about it, we've done it. And I think that gives us a lot of credibility with the audiences that we work with.
Fantastic. So how do you find your clients then? Because
Yeah.
to be able to travel around the world and,
Yeah.
when you are here in Australia, I mean, I met you in Melbourne as well. And
It is 99+% word of mouth and relationships. I'd like to tell you, people just find our website, they see us, they call us and say, come do a speech. That hardly ever happens. It's always someone, we'll do a presentation, and afterwards I'll get a note from someone. I just got a note. We did a workshop in Florida for a ski resort. A month later, someone sent me an email and said, my stepson is a general manager for the ski resort. He told me about the presentation you did. I run a pharmaceutical company, and I'd like you to come to Puerto Rico to speak to my executives on a retreat. And then that's how the business came. So he talked to someone who talked to someone. Brazil, we met someone who knew someone, and they know someone, and we presented, and we've grown. So a lot of this is totally relationship based, word of mouth based. And that's what makes it so hard, but that's what makes it such a great way to do it. You have to prove yourself. Every time you work with a client, you have to do really well because you want them to go tell someone else about you. And that's the key to this. And I think that's the power of most businesses is people recommending and coming back again. And so, we always talk about, you have a great website. You need to have a great website, but it's certainly not going to drive your business. Yeah. It's going to be the relationships you get with people, having the credibility and adding a lot of value. And if you do that, eventually you'll get value coming back to you.
Wow. Yeah, the website is just a window, so you need to make sure that they actually enter in your shop.
Yeah, exactly. So this trip to Australia, we had one workshop planned, but our goal was, okay, we're going to do one workshop, but we're going to stay there for a month, and we're going to meet as many people as we can so that we have the relationships. So for next time when we come back, we can do more work next time around. So this doesn't happen fast. You have to make an investment and keep reinvesting in the relationships, and eventually it'll pay off. It's kind of like planting seeds. You plant a seed and you wait for the tree to grow, and it doesn't happen overnight.
Definitely. But networking also in this case is super important.
Oh, yes.
Because look at us. Like, I just hit on you. You could have
came out of the audience. We said we're coming back to Melbourne.
Yeah.
We went out to dinner and had lunch, and now we're here. And, that's how life works.
And that will maybe bring you I will introduce you. Someone will see the podcast, will contact you. So also networking, I think it's super important.
Very important.
Definitely. Yeah. Wow. So if you could go back and give your 22 years self one piece of advice, what it would be?
I've gotten that question before, and I don't really regret anything. I don't know what advice I would give myself additionally. I think maybe the one thing I would do is focus more on learning about business when I was younger. Like I said, I like to work, so I understood interactions with people and relationships, but I never focused on the nuts and bolts of business. And so it took me, I went back after I worked at Disney for 8 years. I went back and did my MBA program and got my master's in business, which took about 2.5 years because I was working at the same time I was doing that. And that really gave me a lot of confidence to be able to speak the language of business and understand that more. So I don't have any regrets of studying political science because, once again, I think having lots of diverse education experiences is very valuable. Yeah. That's something I would have been more curious and asked more questions early in my career about how business runs, and it probably would have accelerated my learning.
Wow, fantastic.
Yeah.
How is it about working while studying a master degree? Were you a father at the time as well?
Yeah, I mean, we had one son, and our daughter was born the week I started that program, and our other son was born the week I graduated, and I was working. So I was going to class 2 nights a week. I was meeting with my work group on the weekends. We were raising our kids, and we were working. So it was very challenging. It was hard. But,
I can guess. Oh my God.
But you need to have a great partnership also. So, Valerie said, you know what, I'm all in also. This is good for both of us. So she was, but you need to have a team of people to support you. My boss knew that I had to leave early some days of the week. He was okay with that. So as long as you get the support around you, you can really do anything. But it takes a lot of work, a lot of prioritization, a lot of organization, discipline to be able to kind of do that. But it's worth every penny, I think.
Time management maybe as well?
A lot of time management. Prioritization. Time management for me, it's all about prioritization. You need to spend the time and the things that are going to make the biggest difference in your life. And sometimes you have to let things go. And sometimes you have to do things you don't want to do. And I think how you spend your time is a huge measurement of how successful you're going to be. Because where you decide to spend your time is where you're going to make progress.
For sure. And where you're going to end later, few or many years, or 10 or 20 years later, and be happy with your life.
That's right.
Well, tell me about 3 most influential people in your life and how they impacted you.
Yeah. So I can. Valerie, we've been married for almost 30 years. She's been hugely influential. We are very different personalities, which doesn't always make it easy to work together. But because when you talk to people who have a different point of view than you learn a lot. So she's been really good at challenging how I think about things and asking me really hard questions, which I don't always like, but it's nice to have that. So she's been extremely influential. My parents, they have done a great job. They've helped me. They give me advice. They give me choices. They say, well, in this situation, here's 2 things you could do. Now you need to figure out what path you want to take. So I was very lucky to have parents that were supportive, and they didn't focus on me. They didn't have any expectations for me about my life. They just want me to, take the most advantage of it and be happy. They pushed me to just decide where I wanted to go and what I wanted to do and do the best I could. They didn't, tell me where I should go. So that was very helpful, not to force me to do that. And then I think, the other thing is, the other people who've been influential in my life, there are hundreds of people, because what I've learned is you can learn something from everyone. I don't care if they're younger than you, older than you, from a different country, if they report to you, or they're whoever they are. There's always something someone can teach you as long as you're curious to ask questions. And so you need to allow people to influence you. And if you can open your mind up and influence you can have disagreements with people and still have a great conversation and not agree with them. And I think today the problem is people don't want to talk to people who have different opinions that they do. And that's very dangerous. I think you need to talk to people who have a different point of view. And you know what? We disagree on our political stance. We disagree on how to handle that, but we still can talk to each other and have a good relationship. And I think you need to get really good at that and be able to have relationships, even if you disagree with maybe how people think about things.
Yeah, definitely. We saw it even during the pandemic about the vaccination, no vaccination. I think for me was a hit on, oh my God, actually some family members and over, because it's just when you say that ring to my mind, and it's like, wow, some people, they couldn't even talk to each other because they disagreed. And I think nowadays we are in a society where people, they don't really like conflict, or it's easy just to to turn around.
And in most countries, that's a great thing. You can decide what you want to think, and you don't have to judge other people all the time on that. You can think something differently, and it's they have a different point of view.
Yeah, fantastic. I'm gonna ask you maybe a question that maybe someone didn't ask you before. Or yes, but what is your favorite Disney character and why?
Oh, favorite Disney character. So, there's a term we use at Disney. When someone has been a character, they kind of talk about that they were friends with that character.
Yeah.
Because you're not a character. You can be. But anyway, what I'll tell you is Valerie and I have both been friends with Tigger. Tigrou in French.
Tigrou, I was going to say, where's Tigger?
Yeah, he's from Winnie the Pooh. He's a tiger. And we were friends with him. And he was in the parade at Disneyland Paris. And we got to be friends with him. And he's got a lot of energy. He bounces around. He's always looking to do new things. We like that. We like that.
Wow, Tigro.
Yeah.
He used to be, I used to love the donkey from...
Eeyore.
Igor.
Yeah.
When I was younger, he was my favorite character.
Yeah.
Well, fantastic. One last question for finishing this interview is, what is the most important lesson you have learned over your career?
Yeah, I think the most important lesson I've learned over my career is that your career is only part of your life. And so the experiences you get in your life, the people you meet, the things you do, that's the only thing you have at the end of your life. All the things, cars and houses and all these things, you can't take those with you. And so over time, if you can just keep focusing on getting great experiences and meeting people and having these diverse experiences, I think you'll be much happier. And I know people at Disney, and I know a lot of other people who have more money than they know what to do with, and they're miserable because they have a lot of things, but it doesn't mean anything to them. So I think you really got to prioritize your friends, your family, stay close to people, value friendships and relationships, because once you leave your job, you leave your company, the company's going to keep going. Yeah. They're not. I thought the Magic Kingdom might close when I left Disney. It didn't. It opened the next day. So you're not as important as you think you are, and you really got to make sure you understand the friends around you and the family around you, because they're going to be with you forever.
Wow. Yeah. So do something you like. Your career is super important. Thank you so much, Dan.
My pleasure.
For all those tips and sharing your experience with us today.
My pleasure.
Listeners, thank you so much. We will see you soon in our next video for other amazing stories and amazing guests. Don't forget to like us, comment, share, or even subscribe to our channel. We have many more to come. Thank you. Thanks, Dan.
Bye-bye.
Bye.